stolen passport. The incident took place 2 years ago. I went to a country in the Middle East for a business trip. During that time, I stayed there for 4 days in a luxurious hotel. When I was ready to fly to the US, I booked a 6 p.m. flight. That evening, when I left the hotel, I remember that very well. When I left the hotel, I had my luggage in one hand and my phone in the other. I was talking to my boss on the phone as well as waiting for the cab to arrive. I didn't have to wait for long. Within a few minutes, a cab appeared to be in a broken condition. His tire was shot, the windshield was broken, and black smoke was coming out of his exhaust pipe. The cab driver did not look special. He was also a small man whose face was pale. There was a big scar on his face and his eyes were coming out. The mark on his face looked like a knife and 3 fingers of his left hand were also cut. Under no normal circumstances, I would not sit in this cab, even at gunpoint, but I was so busy with my phone that by the time I noticed all these things, it was too late. I have to go to the airport sitting in the seat behind him. We will reach the airport within 5 minutes, the man said in a heavy voice. While talking on the phone, I carelessly put my passport on armrest. Secretly, that cab driver stole it and kept it in his pocket. We arrived when we arrived at the airport. Without saying a word, I took him out of my pocket for $10 and walked inside the airport myself. "You have a good memory," he said when I started leaving. He started smiling strangely at me. As soon as I entered the airport and went straight to the checking area, when the airport staff asked me to show my passport. I also looked at my stuff from here to there. I searched a lot, but I couldn't find it. Oh God, where did I put my passport? I rushed out and started looking at the cab that had brought me here, but it had already left a long time ago. The passengers had started moving on the plane, and I had not even checked in yet. I felt like I was losing my mental balance. You don't understand. It is very important for me to take this flight. I begged them, but to no avail. That moment squeezed me down. There was only one solution to this problem. Now going to the American embassy, but by then it was 8 o'clock. Despite that, it will take a week to get a new passport. Embarrassed and tired, I came out of the airport. I went and waited to get another taxi. While I was walking around, I saw the man who had dropped me to the airport just a while ago. "My friend, what happened? Didn't you go to your house?" he asked as if he cared about me. "No, very childish, but I lost my passport." "Have you seen it anywhere in your cab?" I said, "Oh, good heavens. Too bad, my friend." "No, I didn't see it." "What will you do now?" Taxi driver said, "I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to my hotel and then apply for a new passport tomorrow." "Ah, good. You know what? I felt so bad for you. I'll take you to your hotel for free. What do you say?" He offered me, and I accept his offer. I don't know why I felt even worse when I heard him say that. But I was too late anyway, and I was so tired, so I didn't think much. I got into his cab and we started going back to my hotel. But the path he was taking me on, he didn't even go to the hotel, but he was taking me somewhere else, a place I've never been to before. The cab driver took him to a slum area, a bumpy area with dirty roads, dilapidated houses, and dirty drains on the road. "Hey, what's your intention? Where are you taking me?" I said to him with a loud sound. "Don't worry, my friend. I know where you can get your new passport, very much. By tomorrow, you'll be ready to go to your country." Knowing all this, I felt something strange. My conscience was warning me, but in the temptation to go home early, I sat down and I ignored him. I sat comfortably back and let him lead me into the dark and mysterious premises. In the center of the complex, there was a spooky shed made of wood and corrugated pathways. The car stopped and the driver got out. "Wait here, I just arrived." He went inside the shed. I sat there alone in the car, waiting for the man to come out. Suddenly, I saw something hanging out of the front compartment of the car. That one. It was a colored pucklet that looked like an American passport. I was a little hesitant to explore his belongings, but I wanted to know what it was. I opened the compartment and was surprised to see that it was my passport. It had my name, my picture, and every detail of mine. "What's going on?" Suddenly, the cab driver came out of the shed with the boys who looked mean. Everyone had a weapon in their hand, and the man had a very large pipe wrench in his hand. Oh God! Leaving my phone and bag behind, I immediately got out of the cab and ran away to save my life. He's running away. Follow him. The three men are sitting in their car and following me. They caught me within a few seconds. They hit me with their car and I fell to the ground. I got hurt and my blood started flowing. But they didn't stop. They got out of the car and they started hitting me with their kicks. Then they opened the car door and tried to put me in it. I knew that if they took me away, my life would end. So I started screaming for help. "Help me! Someone please help me!" I shouted loudly. Luckily, some people around heard my voice and crowds started gathering. "Run away, people are coming! Run away! Run!" They said to each other. They left me to die on the street, and I lost my bag, phone, money. All I had now was my passport, which I held tightly in my hand. The next day, I told the police about this, and despite giving all the evidence, they could not find this cab driver. In the end, I was just happy that I was safe in my home. I reached my country, and since then I have not been able to muster the courage to travel alone. And maybe I'll never really do that. Ghost plane crash. The night was dark and stormy, with rain lashing against the windows of California's main airport control tower. Inside, the air traffic controllers watched their radar screens with tense expressions, guiding planes through the turbulent weather. Among them was John Mitchell, an experienced pilot-turned-controller who had seen it all, or so he thought. Flight 6666 was preparing for takeoff, a red-eye flight bound for New York City. Captain David Anderson, a seasoned pilot with over 20 years of experience, was at the helm. He had faced thunderstorms, engine failures, and even bird strikes in the past, but nothing could have prepared him for what was about to happen. As the plane taxied to the runway, the wind howled outside, and the rain poured down in sheets. Lightning illuminated the dark sky, casting eerie shadows across the tarmac. Captain Anderson's hands were steady on the controls as he prepared for the routine takeoff. But as the plane gained speed down the runway, something caught his eye. In the distance, beyond the runway lights, he saw a faint, shadowy figure. It seemed to be a person, but Captain Anderson couldn't make out any features. He thought it was just a trick of the light, a play of shadows in the storm. But as the plane continued to accelerate, the figure became more distinct, and it was standing directly in the path of the aircraft. Panicking, Captain Anderson tried to abort the takeoff, slamming on the brakes and pulling back on the control yoke. The tires screeched, and the plane's nose pitched upward, but it was too late. The aircraft hurtled toward the mysterious figure, and in the flash of lightning, Captain Anderson could see that it was a ghostly figure in tattered clothes, with hollow eyes staring directly at him. The passengers on board felt the sudden deceleration and the jolt as the plane's landing gear struck the figure, sending it tumbling across the runway. The plane skidded, its engines roaring as Captain Anderson fought to regain control. But it was too late. The plane veered off the runway, plowing through the airport's perimeter fence and finally coming to a rest in a muddy field. Chaos erupted inside the cabin as passengers screamed and oxygen masks dropped from the overhead compartments. Miraculously, there were no fatalities, but several passengers and crew members suffered injuries during the crash. The airport's emergency response teams rushed to the scene, extinguishing a small fire that had erupted in one of the engines. As Captain Anderson emerged from the wreckage, he was pale and trembling. He could hardly believe what he had seen on the runway. Airport personnel searched for any sign of the mysterious figure, but it had disappeared without a trace. In the days that followed, investigators combed through the wreckage and reviewed the airport's security footage. They found no evidence of a person on the runway, living or dead, prior to the incident. Captain Anderson insisted that he had seen a ghostly shadow, but no one could explain what had truly happened that night. The incident sent shockwaves through the aviation community, and Flight 666 was forever marked as a cursed flight. Captain Anderson retired soon after, haunted by the ghostly encounter that had cost him his career. And the legend of the ghostly figure on the runway at California's main airport remained a chilling mystery. A story told by pilots and air traffic controllers to this day. A reminder that sometimes, even in the most technologically advanced age, the unexplained and the supernatural can still find their way into our world. White Witch. The city of Los Angeles bustled with life as travelers from around the world descended upon Los Angeles International Airport, better known as LAX. It was a sprawling hub of activity, with passengers rushing through terminals, excited to embark on their adventures or return home after long journeys. Among the travelers that day was Jolly, a young woman with a penchant for adventure. She had always dreamed of exploring far-off lands and had finally saved enough for a solo trip to Europe. As Jolly checked her luggage in at the LAX counter, she noticed an odd-looking woman standing nearby. The stranger wore a long, flowing white dress, and her silver hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall. The woman's pale skin and piercing blue eyes were captivating, but her presence sent shivers down Jolly's spine. Jolly quickly finished checking in her luggage, and as she turned to leave, she felt the woman's intense gaze on her. Jolly brushed off the strange encounter and headed to her gate. She settled into a seat by the large windows, watching planes taxi along the runways as they prepared for takeoff. However, her unease continued to grow, and she couldn't shake the feeling that the woman in white was following her. Hours passed, and Jolly's flight was called. She boarded the plane, still wary of the eerie woman. As the plane took off, Jolly peered out the window, glancing at the sprawling city below. Unbeknownst to her, the woman in white was now standing in the terminal, watching the plane ascend into the sky with a sinister grin. Jolly's flight was long and exhausting, and as she arrived in London, she was eager to stretch her legs and explore the city. However, when she went to retrieve her luggage at Heathrow Airport, she discovered a shocking sight. Instead of her familiar suitcase, she found a decrepit, ancient chest that looked like it belonged in a museum. Confused and frustrated, Jolly reported the mix-up to the airline's lost luggage desk. The airline staff assured her that they would locate her suitcase and return it as soon as possible. Jolly couldn't help but feel a sense of dread, as if something was terribly wrong. Meanwhile, at LAX, other passengers began to experience similar luggage mishaps. Bags and suitcases had inexplicably vanished, only to be replaced with bizarre and ominous items. Some found themselves with ancient books filled with cryptic symbols, while others discovered creepy dolls that seemed to watch them with lifeless eyes. The news of the bizarre luggage swaps quickly spread among travelers and airport staff alike. Panic and confusion reigned at LAX as more and more passengers reported their belongings mysteriously disappearing or being replaced by sinister objects. Airport security launched an investigation, reviewing security footage and interviewing witnesses. The woman in white, who had been seen by several passengers, became a prime suspect. However, when they reviewed the security footage, she appeared to vanish without a trace, leaving behind no clues as to her identity or intentions. As the days passed, Jolly remained in London, waiting for her luggage to be returned. She began to experience unsettling nightmares. In her dreams, she saw the woman in white, standing amidst a swirling vortex of darkness, chanting in a language she couldn't understand. The nightmares left Jolly terrified and sleep-deprived. Back at LAX, the situation grew increasingly dire. The airport descended into chaos as passengers grew more frantic about their lost belongings. Rumors circulated that the woman in white was a witch who had cast a curse upon the airport. The airport authorities, desperate to restore order, brought in experts in the occult and paranormal to investigate. The experts confirmed that dark magic was at play and warned that the curse would only intensify unless the woman in white was found and stopped. Jolly determined to break the curse and reclaim her luggage, embarked on a mission to uncover the truth about the mysterious woman. She sought out local legends and folklore, hoping to find a way to confront the witch. In her research, Jolly discovered a chilling tale from the past. Centuries ago, a powerful witch known as Lady Seraphina had lived in the vicinity of LAX. She had been infamous for her malevolent spells and her desire to unleash chaos upon the world. Legend had it that she had been banished to a realm between worlds, where she could only manifest herself briefly. Jolly became convinced that the woman in white was none other than Lady Seraphina, returned from her otherworldly prison to wreak havoc once more. Armed with this knowledge, Jolly set out to stop the witch and break the curse. Jolly's quest led her to a hidden library in London, where she discovered an ancient grimoire that contained spells to protect against dark magic. She painstakingly translated the incantations and prepared herself for a showdown with Lady Seraphina. Back at LAX, the airport authorities had enlisted the help of a renowned psychic, Madame Estelle, to locate the witch. Madame Estelle used her psychic abilities to trace the dark energy left behind by Lady Seraphina's curse. The trail led her to a long-abandoned wing of the airport. Jolly and Madame Estelle, unaware of each other's efforts, arrived at the same location on the same fateful night. The atmosphere was thick with an eerie presence, and they could feel the dark magic seeping through the walls. As Jolly and Madame Estelle ventured deeper into the abandoned wing of the airport, they encountered strange and unsettling sights. Ghostly apparitions flickered in and out of existence, and the temperature dropped to bone-chilling levels. Finally, they reached a large, decrepit chamber at the heart of the airport. There, standing before them, was Lady Seraphina, the woman in white. Her eyes glowed with malevolence as she regarded the intruders. Jolly wasted no time. She began reciting the protective spells she had found in the ancient grimoire. The incantations created a shimmering barrier around them, shielding them from Lady Seraphina's dark magic. Madame Estelle, using her psychic abilities, attempted to weaken the witch's hold on the cursed baggage. It was a battle of wills as Lady Seraphina fought to maintain control over her supernatural powers. The confrontation between jolly Madame Estelle and Lady Seraphina raged on for what felt like an eternity. Spells and psychic energy clashed in a dazzling display of light and darkness. Jolly and Madame Estelle refused to yield to the witch's malevolent intent. As the battle reached its climax, Lady Seraphina's power began to wane. The curse she had cast upon LAX started to unravel, and the bizarre luggage swaps reversed. Passengers around the airport found their belongings restored, and the sense of dread that had plagued LAX began to lift. With a final surge of energy, Jolly and Madame Estelle unleashed a powerful spell that banished Lady Seraphina once again to the realm between worlds. The woman in white let out a blood-curdling scream as she disappeared into the abyss.